Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the free-to-play account, and we're going to be doing a Q&A session. So if you have some questions, definitely put them up in the chat. We're going to go through, we're going to try to make some progression. Now, what I've noticed, though, is with the free-to-play account, there are kind of a lot of walls that we're getting to. Even if you look down here, I'm starting to farm out a little bit more of the tower progression, trying to make some more progression. It's very difficult without having the heroes, even where I have them built up to. They need to be a lot stronger. They need to be built up a lot higher. We've even we've geared them up quite a bit. And then when it also comes to a couple of the other towers, we have seen this now for about a month or more. The Forsaken Necropolis, the World Tree, we are completely power capped in those. So we can't make any progression at all. So that means we can't farm out some of our time emblems. We cannot farm out some of the Stargazer scrolls, because both of those are capped in the entirety with making progression. So we're going to have to focus a lot more on that Celestial Sanctum, the Tower of Light, and the Brutal Citadel, just for the fact that we cannot make progression because of the power cap on the other towers itself. So what's going on, guys? Thank you guys for joining me for the stream. I'm doing great today. Good to see everyone in here. We do have football in a little bit. That is why the stream is a little bit earlier, and we are kicking off a brand new week in AFK Arena. I love this every single week because we do get a lot of resources, get all of our requests and all of our friends out of here. Darth Vader, big shout out to lending me some heroes every single time. What's up, Shooty? I don't know why it's the wrong name right now. And I just know Shooty over on the companion server has been doing a crazy amount over there. And how's the companion server? That's a good question that we've seen. So if you checked out your mail, guys, there's some Heroes of Esperia rewards out of here. Also, we did have a couple things. You could do some surveys. You could get some diamonds out of there. Make sure you're doing the surveys. Make sure you're getting all of the free diamonds out of there. Now, on this account specifically, we had farmed up a considerable amount within the Celestial Isles. I wanted to hop in here, and I wanted to pick up the copy of Demia. I believe we needed 450. We are at 496 to pick up Demia. So this is a hero that is kind of a priority when it comes to building out the heroes, and this is going to be the unlock for her. Now, she is one that does work very well without being built up super, super high. So the effectiveness of her in a couple different game modes, I'm hoping it's going to make a difference, because if you guys remember, we are actually building out Nox as it sits today, just kind of seeing exactly where we're going to go in there. What's going on? The Dream is here too. Thank you for joining me. Did you get the new hero to Ascended? I did not as of right now. She is at Mythic Plus. I didn't get her to Ascended. Didn't want to buy any more packs in there. And overall, when we look at the new hero, guys, and this is a question that I get from a lot of different players, is when we start looking at the new Highborn Draconic hero, she is being used in every game mode. We are seeing her right now in the Cursed Realm, you know, the Treasure Scramble, the Nightmare Corridor. She is being used in every game mode pretty much to amplify the Dragon Speak damage that we're seeing. In addition, we're seeing her run in a lot of different formations with either Scion, which again is Dragon Speak damage, and then looking at Skyland, Dragon Speak damage, and really amplifying or really revitalizing some of those heroes. So it really stinks because over on the YouTube account, I do not have Skyland. So Skyland is one, unfortunately, I did not build out, and I am not going to build out. But now we are seeing a lot more utility out of Skyland, just for the simple fact that we are boosting up the Dragon Speak damage that she is amplifying on Skyland, making Skyland essentially a lot more effective in a couple different game modes because of the increased damage that we're seeing in this hero. It's kind of crazy. There's a Temple Rift over there. I know, I think I seen Merlin, and I want to say I seen, was it Kaz? I watch AFK Arena. I check some of the content over on the Facebook, but I thought Merlin was over there and a couple ones. Okay, the new Highborn is everywhere. Yes, it is, Dream. Yes, she is showing up everywhere. If you start going through a couple different game modes, she's pretty much used everywhere. We've even seen her in a couple teams, and if you checked out the guide from the AFK guys, she's being used even in the Treasure Scramble, even in the PvP aspect, still being used in a couple different places. And right there she is, guys. And like I was just saying, like what the Dream said, she is being used right here, 13 billion damage. But you notice right down here, Skyland is at 19 billion damage. The reason is the Dragon Speak damage amplification she's providing goes in effect for Skyland. Skyland doing a lot more damage out of here. So where if her buffs didn't affect him, we wouldn't see the effectiveness. But of course, now we are. just because of the damage that she is putting in there. For free to play, it's better to go with Ethereal than Leviathan. That is a really tough one. Because Leviathan is another one, guys, that is being used everywhere. I would probably give it, because as you can see right there, Leviathan. And the thing with some of these heroes, like a hero like Leviathan, same with like the Awakened version of Estrilda, Leviathan is going to stay around for a considerable amount of time because he is not damage dealers. We see a lot of the damage dealers that do get replaced a lot faster than we traditionally see the tanks, the support heroes, things of that nature. Because essentially, when the damage is gone, that's it. The damage in its entirety is gone. It's a lot more likely to replace damage dealers than it is the support heroes, than it is the tanks. And honestly, right now, I would probably wait to see, because we don't know the effectiveness, because she hasn't been through all the iterations of the game modes. Because remember, every single week, guys, the Nightmare Corridor is changing. You know, the Treasure Scramble is changing. The Cursed Realm is changing. I would wait and see exactly where she's being used. Good evening from VN. What is going on? Thank you for joining us for the stream. It's about to go to bed. Awaken Tassie next Tuesday. It shouldn't be that early. And I don't know, is it going to be Tassie? Have they said anything about a Dream? I know there was some speculation a couple different places, but I hadn't seen anything. And we're waiting for kind of the confirmation from AFK Arena if it is going to be Tassie, if we're going to see Tassie. It's going to be very interesting to see. I'm intrigued to see if the new Hybrid Draconic Hero is a Skyland enabler. Yeah, that's what it seems like right now, Shooty. It seems like Skyland's damage is coming in much, much higher because of her, which is the reason why, again, you have a very, very, very expensive hero when it comes to these Highborn Draconic heroes. Super expensive, of course, to build, to go through. And now we don't know how effective she's going to be independently of Skyland, because, again, we're seeing her in the formations with Skyland. That's the reason why, again, I would probably wait to see exactly what that looks like. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. $400 skin. Not sure which skin you're talking about, the Dream, but overall, guys, let's do a couple summons in here. And again, if you have questions, definitely drop them down there. Want to cover a couple. And again, power cap for a free-to-play account. I feel like we didn't rush through this account very, very fast, but we still got to the point where we are just kind of power capped. And there we go, guys. There is a copy of Kelthin. His effectiveness was really high when he came out. We've seen some utility with him at this point. Unfortunately, not seeing a lot of use out of there. What's going on? Alome? Somehow caught a stream. Yeah, the stream's a little bit earlier today, guys. Like I said, we have a football game at noon, so we are going to be out and about this afternoon with the football game, so I can't do the 1 o'clock stream, so we're going to make it a little bit earlier and take it. I was talking about the Companions exclusive Merlin skin. Oh, it was for... Yeah, guys, the skins, and I go back to... Really, when you look at skins, I do not buy, and if you followed my channel for the last 6 years, we've been doing this, which is kind of crazy. I do not buy anything in any game, whether it is playing Clash of Clans, World of Warcraft, even looking at AFK Arena, anything that gives me like a wardrobe, that gives me an effect, that gives me a skin, I do not, and I will not buy it. I do not care at all, 100%, about any of the skins if there isn't a functionality to improve my gameplay, to make more progression, anything of that nature. I skip the skins 100% in their entirety. I don't buy any of them. In my opinion, guys, they're not really worth it, because again, the cosmetics will come and go. But if you can make more progression, if you can make more, make it further in gameplay, that's exactly what I really want to. Her or Leviathan, that's the question. It feels like Raphael right now, it is going to be her again, just because of the utility. If you look at a lot of different places, Leviathan can be replaced with a couple other tanks that we see, where it seems like she is not going to be able to be replaced because of the amplification of the Dragon Speak damage. Again, for a lot of players that don't have Leviathan, there are substitutions for Leviathan. And that's, again, where it gets kind of difficult, because if you're looking at a damage dealer, you're going to either have the damage dealer or you're not going to have the damage dealer. There's no kind of in between with, again, trying to have her, trying to have Skyland, trying to have Marcille. trying to have all of these very, very high damage dealers, because fundamentally, if you don't have the hero, if you don't have the damage dealer, the formation changes in its entirety. And that is what we see across a lot of different game modes. For instance, if you don't have Skyland, there's substitutions, of course, for them. The effectiveness of it goes down a lot, but the formation does change with the majority of them. So, I mean, yeah, I would probably build her. And also the question is the utility of Lan. I feel like at this point in AFK Arena, Lan's utility, even though the utility itself is still there, fundamentally Lan still works incredibly well. But as we start getting stronger support heroes, as we start getting, the warrior support, the tank support, all of these other heroes, I feel like the effectiveness of Lan is going to lower. And essentially, you also have to remember is that as she gets older, the effectiveness of newer heroes is always stronger. The combat rating is always stronger. That's where they phased out all of the older heroes. And even looking at some of these where, Hildwyn used to be the best, and we know Gwen used to be the best. Now they're not used anywhere. These are literally heroes that years ago were the absolute best in slot, and that is just by design. That is the power creep in its entirety. Something scary about the new Highborn is that she's only used in P1 in Nightmare Quarter right now. Next iteration might be completely gone. And that's what we were kind of talking about. So what Gucci just said right there is, with the hero being new, with the hero being very, very new, we have to see where all the iterations of these heroes are being used. That is kind of what we're waiting to see at this point, is where and if and how is this hero going to be used in every single iteration. Once we go through, once we do this full rotation of the heroes, or the full rotation of all of the game modes, we will know exactly where she's being used and in what team she's being used once we get through that full rotation. Any news on Laios and Marcial? Not yet. I say this kind of time and time again. I know, and we've been questioning it. We've been talking to AFK Arena. We have been trying to figure out exactly why Marcial and Laios are not in the garrison yet. Originally, they said 6 months after release, which would put them, I believe, well past 6 months at this point. So I'm hoping the next patch might be something, and I'm almost questioning if they do like a re-release, what we've seen with some of the other heroes, if they do something like a re-release, like what we've seen with Ainz and Albedo, and adding a third hero in there from Delicious and Dungeon, and then move 2 of them to the garrison, have the new crossover, which again, speculation is there's going to be a crossover, there's going to be a wilder hero. There's a lot of different things that are kind of in the pipeline of what we do think is going to come down. They don't release 2 loading screen characters back to back, so Awakened Wilder would not be next. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the next one, because again, guys, the timeline is up. It is December 7th. We literally have 2 more hero releases in 2025. That's it. So if it is not this time, and again, a lot of speculation is for the holiday season within what Dolly is saying right here, that this is going to be a collaboration that's coming over. Word has it that the merchant from afar is seeking business partners. The business partners or the individual is going to be a crossover or a collaboration. Again, that is kind of yet to be seen what we get out of there. But again, that's kind of the speculation that we're seeing. The only Highborn Draconic Sire heroes I have are Gwen and Hildwyn. Yeah, for a lot of people, that is the exact same boat. You think Celine is nice to build early? My first impression is that she keeps consistent casting skills that help you take advantage in early battle. She does, but there's a lot of support heroes that you kind of need. If you built her up early, she does, in her build overall, I believe the basics like a plus 20 signature item. But the problem is, when you're using all of your cards for a hero like Celine, you're not building out all of the other heroes in AFK Arena. So it does, I feel like she doesn't take a priority as it sits right now within AFK Arena, just because there are so many support heroes. I mean, when we start thinking about, who we need to build and really getting into the Stargazer and breaking that whole entire part down, when you look at support, we have Liberta, we have Demia, we have Aurelia, we're building out Nox. We have a lot of different heroes that are built up, and those effectiveness of those heroes are far greater right now than Celine, especially early game. I would build them out, power progression, everything like that, before I would build out Celine, and also the sheer cost. That's the other thing where if you're early game looking at the Stargazer, looking at a couple other places, the sheer cost of building out the heroes, I know it's a lot lower than the Highborn Draconic heroes, but overall they still do have not only the cost of getting the hero, but then the investment of getting them and building them up just like everyone else. Because you got to get the signature items, you got to get the engraving, you got to get, all of the furniture. There are so many different things you have to do, which keeps I feel like players really engaged with AFK Arena, but there is a point where you do have to grind and you do have to grind them forever. Is Lythos a good hero to build? No, not at all. So Lythos was in one formation, which really didn't make a difference at all. Lythos, I would completely skip, and I am not building Lythos on the YouTube account because, again, there is right now no utility for the hero at all. We are not seeing it at all, which is kind of crazy. She'd be safer if she was used in a team 5 in Nightmare Corridor. I'm guessing team 1 is the next fight to disappear. Yeah, it would be on the rotation. So that team 1 would move out, and then of course, based on the rotation, based on the new the new rotation, it would be there. What's going on, Yoshi? Early stream. Yep, we're in a little bit earlier today. But yeah, like I said, Lythos, don't build him at all. And what's going on, Van Gogh? Thanks for joining us as well. I could get a copy of the new hero. She seems effective at Legendary and build Skyland for the real damage. Yeah, it's just, I worry with Skyland and how effective he's going to be and for how long. So the other thing to know, like what Drinking the Sight said right there, is the effectiveness. Some of the players are running the new Highborn Draconic hero just at Legendary, just at 1 copy to amplify. So essentially, if you had Skyland and Skyland was already built, is you could put her in there as a very basic hero, and it would work incredibly well. The big thing also remember with her is survivability. She has very, very low survivability. And again, with the newer hero, she doesn't have a cheat death, which is what we see with the majority of the heroes. Without that cheat death, she is dying out relatively quick. Little bit of survivability issues in there. Yeah, Lythos is the new Greyborn that no one's building the dream. Again, we seen Lythos was used in one single formation, which was easy to replace him if you didn't have him. And as right now, they're not using the hero at all. So in here we have 4 more. Then we'll see if we got some Highborn Draconic hero summons, and we also got to go through a couple other game modes, guys. That I kind of want to catch up. That way we can focus on answering your questions, everything like that. But unfortunately, nothing really big with the summons in there. I built them only because I was trying to build all the F4 heroes to come. Yeah, I thought about it, but I just build it in time. And honestly, there's no rush to build the hero, which is kind of interesting because so many heroes were built or were released that have been super effective in a lot of different game modes. There has been a lot of effectiveness for the heroes. Now, I know we already have Leviathan right now built up to the Mythic. We got him up to Mythic last time. We still need a lot of amplifying emblems to actually build them up a little bit further. And then I'm going to do 1 summon here just to pick up this very last one, and then we have 5,000 diamonds here. We've been trying to build out and getting some more copies of Scion. I know not the super big popular decision, but we want to build out Scion a little bit further. I'm trying to, within the Dragonforge trials, I'm getting this up to 5. 5 is the goal. 5 is where we're trying to get to, and we can see, guys, even more insignias here. If I do not get to 5, I am missing all of the insignias and the scrolls in here to actually make some more progression. I'm trying to every single time to go in there and try to build them. Who's the best priority, Eleutheria or Leviathan? Again, that's kind of a question that we're trying to determine. There's no clear-cut answer right now because we know Leviathan is being used in a lot of different game modes. Eleutheria is being used even at a lower level. Is she going to be a huge priority? Again, we have to see exactly where the heroes are being used and where she's being used through all the iterations, because we have not went through all of the iterations that we have for AFK Arena with the hero itself. So again, it's a little bit early to call because she's only been out, what, a week? Not even a week at this point. I think she was released on Tuesday. So the new hero isn't even out a week. Again, we have to see where the hero is being used and where really the priority of the hero is coming in. And that's going to take a little bit of time. It is going to take a little bit of time to see exactly where the hero is being used. Should I pull for Zora or Skarath or just save for now? Skarath is being used a lot of different places, Yoshi. So when you start looking and kind of breaking down the different game modes, Skarath has been coming into a lot of different places. We have been seeing Skarath being used as either a primary damage dealer or a secondary damage dealer. I feel like there's going to be a point pretty soon where Zora might be kind of phased out of things. I know Zora is used right there. I don't know if we have some combinations with Skarath in here. Yep, right there's Skarath down there. Again, it's pretty interesting because even here, it doesn't really seem to make a huge difference because he is pretty easy to replace. But again, we're seeing him a lot of different places. We're seeing Zora used in a couple different places, but I don't know at what point in the future is one or two of them going to be replaced. And honestly, Yoshi, I would wait and save to see what the Wilder is, see what and who the Wilder is, and where we're going to see the effectiveness of the new Wilder. Because again, we know if it's not this release, it should be last release if they're getting that final hero into 2025. So again, it would be less than a month that you'd have to wait to see. Lithos new S17 meta. Watch, yeah, Dream. They're gonna find or push or really force us into a place where we're gonna have to use the hero in the entirety. What's the best collection for folks? They're using Zafriel's collection. So the level 3 Zafriel's collection, and I think they're using Magical Pierce. If I remember correctly, I believe the Magical Pierce is what they're using for that Awakened Folks collection. But if you've looked at a lot of the, again, different game modes, a majority of places, they are using now the newer collections. So even when you go in the Ghoulish Gallery, and we knew this was going to happen, I don't even know at what point are we going to see, some changes in the Ghoulish Gallery or actually another zone within the Ghoulish Gallery. It's going to be interesting to see because as it sits right now, these are used for the majority of places. I know there is some overlap with some of the older collections, but honestly, when you look at like Thane's collection, best in slot for almost everybody. You look right here at Zafriel's collection, almost best in slot for all of the mages. As we've kind of fine-tuned the new collections, of course, PvP is kind of the exception for it. Is we know where, the cheat death with Tassie's collection still pretty broken. But then you look at Rowan's collection, this has been replaced a majority of places. And even looking at a couple other ones like the Sandstorm Fang, not really used anywhere. Even looking at Oden's collection, again, it's been kind of switched over to Zafriel's collection for a majority of players, including most of the runs that I do. It's pretty interesting with, either attack or we see Magic Pierce. And they do change for the game modes. That is something where, a lot of players will ask me or question, who do we use in this game mode, or how effective is the collection in this game mode? It depends the game mode. It's not like you can go in here and, you can hop in, you can build a collection, and that collection is going to be used for every single hero within an AFK arena. That is not the case at all when it comes to collections. It makes a big difference depending on the game mode that you're using the collection in, the hero it's on, the game mode that it's in. These collections will change depending on where and how you're building them out. It really does make a big difference on where they are being used. I hate most of the Awaken because they don't usually end up being absolute OP or absolutely useless. Instead, they use 1 to 2 places. Yes, I do not like the middle ground. I am 100% on board with you right there. I do not like the middle ground heroes where the effectiveness, or we're building a hero out for 1 or 2 game modes. That kind of drives me crazy. That we have to build out some of these heroes for literally almost no game mode in the entirety, just because they're used in 1 or 2 places, 1 or 2 formations. And for some, like I said earlier, it's either you have the heroes or you don't have the heroes, which again is kind of tough. Let me hop in here and we'll start running through this so we can answer some more questions in the Misty Valley. Still got to do the Otherworldly Dream. I did put that one up because I got a lot of questions from players about it. So we did do kind of the walkthrough over on the channel yesterday. Anyone else have the problem that collections get regularly changed back to the meta? Oh, that is a touchy subject for friend renewal. So the collections always get changed back to the older ones when you copy and paste formations. It will happen forever, and it has been an issue forever. It's been an issue for so long within AFK Arena. What happens is every time that you change a game mode, and every time that you're copying formations or looking at collections, anything of that nature, they will go over and it will change all of the collections. So if you go through and you do the Nightmare Corridor and you copy a formation, it is going to remove or adjust the collections on every single hero, which again, it kind of makes it crazy for a lot of different players, but it will adjust the collections that are placed on there. And you'll see heroes that are moved, and then you go to the Nightmare Corridor, you go to the Treasure Scramble, you go to different places. Again, the collections are going to change based on the build. That is the reason why they're kind of fixed for it. And I'd say it's kind of a fix, is they allow you to save the collections. There was no way to overwrite it in all of the different game modes, which again is kind of silly. To say every game mode is, holding and has its own separate kind of bucket to keep all the collections in there. That has literally been years since we've had issues with those collections, because they will always change in every single game mode that you do. For instance, if I go to and hop in the campaign and I copy a formation in the campaign, it's going to strip every collection off of everyone else in different game modes, which is kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy, but it's something, again, we've kind of dealt with for a lot of time. We need to tell them that increased likelihood of getting insight. Yeah, they need to give us staffs. It's something that we've really talked about for an incredible amount of time, is when it comes to the arcane staffs and knowing how many collections are there in the entirety, they got to get to the point of giving us more arcane staffs. It's kind of crazy. Collections are mainly PvP because they offer cheat death. Yeah, absolutely. Shooty, love the collab with Lilith, by the way. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love doing some of the collabs. I know Vulcan has done them in the past. The Russian gamer, we've done a couple collabs in the past. It was pretty cool to work with Lilith again. We've done it a couple times now. It was fun to see. I got to any PvP mode to change comps. My collections drop. Yeah, again, it's the issue with collections. And that has been the issue for, I believe, again, it's been like 2 years with the collections. They don't stay on heroes. And that was their fix. To say, hey, if I'm going in and I'm doing the Treasure Scramble and I'm running, Athalia in the Treasure Scramble, I want it to equip XYZ formation. The collections are not based on the hero. That again, they base it on the formation. They don't base it on the hero. So where, Athalia's best collection might be Saurus's collection, I cannot permanently equip Saurus's collection on there, which again, it's odd. It's odd how they do it. All formation, it must be the same class. Yeah, that's been a sticking point again for a lot of different players. It really has been. Good morning, Sean. Thank you for joining us for the stream. Yeah, it's silly. Would it be worth it to take Celine to a signature item 40? At the moment, I'm working on Falks to a 40 as I have a Mythic 1 copy. The effectiveness of her, I feel like, doesn't really come from the signature item. Even again, the optimal build for her is a plus 30 signature item. The whale build or the bigger build is the plus 40. But I feel like with Celine, I probably wouldn't invest up to the 40. And I know even on my YouTube account, I do not have her up to the 40 at this point, just because it's very expensive. There's a lot of other heroes I would prioritize before her. Any ideas when we might get a new Celestial or a Hypo hero? Celestial and Hypo, it might be a little bit. It might be a little bit that we're getting a new one. Again, we know there might be a collaboration coming. There might be, there's going to be the Awakened Wilders. Yeah, I feel like it might be a little bit for the Celestial or Hypo. I would save up some scroll, Sean, and just see what's kind of coming down the pipeline. And if they're doing like a double release or if they're doing something like that, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they do it. If it's a collab again with two heroes, it's going to be interesting to see because holiday, they usually go a lot bigger with events. They usually go a lot bigger with codes and a couple other things. It'll be interesting to see what is coming next for Celestials or Hypos. But I feel like it's been pretty cut and dry, pretty close since we've gotten. I mean, Celine came out not too long ago. Then, of course, we got the Highborn Draconic Hero. I want to see what's coming next. They should do a set to choose if you want collections per hero or game mode. Yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about. And again, this goes back years when we were kind of talking about it. Do I have Nara and Belinda? We were talking about how we could kind of get that. Do I have an original Belinda? I do. Let me see if I have Nara. I think Nara has the skin. We do. Yeah, that how it would work again, kind of fundamentally, if we could put a collection on a hero and keep the same collection on a hero, and that's where they came up with being able to equip the same collection on multiple heroes. Again, that was an update, guys, way back when. Being able to run again multiple collections on different heroes. There's been a lot of changes to collections since the release to make it easier to be able to build one collection. In my opinion, guys, there's still a couple different things that they need to adjust with collections. Again, being able to get a couple more arcane staffs, being able to prioritize like the collections like we were talking about, being able to give us access to more of the totems to build them up. There's still a lot I feel like they need to adjust, and I'm hoping they do it before they release more collections. They need to, in my opinion, guys. Which game mode do you like the most and why? For me, guys, I like the Cursed Realm. I like the Cursed Realm, and I love the bosses that they have in there. Cursed Realm, Nightmare Corridor. I like the bosses. I feel like they could have done, and we have even such an opportunity as it sits right now with AFK Arena, with the design of the bosses, with the methodology between the guild bosses. I love when they release the new bosses, when they release, all of the new abilities the bosses have and everything like that. I feel like that kind of keeps the game mode and the game itself a lot more fresh. Again, I like when they're releasing new content that people haven't seen versus using, and I'm very disappointed with the guild bosses right now, just on the same rotation. They were like, hey, we already got this boss. Let's just throw this boss in this game mode. And then again, I know they did the same with Nightmare Corridor. We already have these bosses. Let's just throw these bosses in this game mode. They need a lot more, again, kind of changes and kind of different build out with some of the heroes. I do love the bosses though. Really miss Lucretia. Yeah, Lucretia was pretty broken, Sean. I definitely like Lucretia and how Lucretia worked. I'm hoping they do something again with guild bosses. I would love to see it changed up a little bit. Win without a warrior or a ranger. All right, so we'll wipe this one out because we know she is a ranger. Let's go ahead and grab some of our support heroes and see if we can get this one done with them. Could use a really strong damage dealer. Yeah, it seems like they just leave it up to the Awakened Celestials and Hypos. That's where all of the damage. Who would be the best Highborn to build after Kalon, as I have a Mythic 1 copy? And I'm not whether I should go for new Highborn or Leviathan or Skyland. I've pretty much ignored Halia. Yeah, Halia I left as well. Kalon's another one that I don't know how effective he's going to be for how long. It's going to be tough. The new Highborn, again, it seems like the new Highborn or Leviathan are going to be the two really in question. Skyland is another one where I feel like being an older hero in AFK Arena, very susceptible to the power creep, where if they come out with, let's say the next Highborn Draconic hero might replace Skyland in the future, very similar to what we've seen with the Draconic version of Gwen. I would probably wait and see. Halia I ignored, even Kalon I ignored, and then Skyland I ignored as well, just because, Virgil, the sheer cost of the heroes itself, I had to ignore all of those because I did not have the insignias to build them out at all. They were really really sad that I couldn't build any of those out at all, just again because of the sheer cost. Rem is falling off for me. Yeah, eventually she will. Rem is a hero that campaign formation, she will work, especially because one, she's relatively cheap to build. That's why so many players, even early players within AFK Arena, the effectiveness of her in campaign formations. And also think, Sean, is since Rem has come out and since, a majority of these heroes have come out, um, the campaign formations have never changed. The tower formations have never changed. A lot of the game modes have been updated, but fundamentally, and we got to see if we have lures in. Let me see really quick. Do we have lures in? We do. And do we have a copy of Sophia? I think we do. But yeah, like I was saying, when you look at the effectiveness of Rem in campaign formations, the first 40 chapters, 45 chapters, she still has a crazy amount of utility because the campaign formations have never changed. The old school campaign, again, hasn't changed fundamentally. She's still good. I want to build land. Is she worth building? She's my first Draconic. She is and still does have a lot of effectiveness with land. Good thing with her is you only have to get her to Ascended, so you don't have to add the engraving on there. Most players just build land to Ascended. But again, as we start seeing a lot of newer release support heroes and even kind of the sub support heroes like the tank support, the warrior support, I feel like the effectiveness of land, she's starting to get replaced in a couple different places. And I feel like that is probably going to continue as we move forward, is a lot of those heroes are going to see a lot more of the replacement. Are there any resources for formations? Yes. So look at Sibo's guides. If you do not use the Cursed Friends, and a big shout out to Sibo for putting it together. Resources for the Nightmare Corridor. Literally, Sibo and I know a bunch of other content creators have built guides that are specifically, so you can go in and they have built Excel documents that you can include and exclude heroes that you do not possess. And it will build formations on there based on the heroes you have and the heroes you don't. I know Sibo spent 6 months, I think it was 6+ months doing the guides themselves. Guys, hop over on Reddit. You just go through there. You actually just do a copy of the Excel sheet that he has. You adjust it to your own account and it will work. It is by far the best resource that is out there. I know I cover some of the guides sometimes, again, just to kind of get a lot more exposure out there for them. But the guide over there is crazy. A year. Was it 1 year? So yeah, it might have been a year. I know that the guides work incredibly well because again, I can go in there and I can pull up Sibo's guides. I can exclude out Skyland, I can exclude Halia, I can exclude Kalon, and then I can go in and I can build the heroes that I have within there, just based on who I actually have on my account. It makes a huge, huge, huge difference in the entirety. On a free-to-play account, how long does it take to fully build a Highborn Draconic hero? Yeah, I would say probably about a year. So think of it right now, guys. So we're about, and I would have to look, I would say 4 months. So we got Leviathan right here, up to Mythic already. It's been about 4 months. So if you look right now, getting to Mythic, Legendary, Legendary Plus. So we've gotten 6 copies of Leviathan in about 4 months. If we continue progression, it's probably going to be Ascended, probably about 8-9 months. You add a star on there for those last 3 copies, not including any of the releases, anything else. I would probably say 10 to 12. I would say probably 10 to 12. Should I invest in Selena or Aurelia? Aurelia is still the priority, guys. The effectiveness of Aurelia isn't going anywhere. She is still, when you look at priorities overall for heroes, Liberta is still probably absolutely number 1. Even looking here, we built out Liberta, then I built out Aurelia. Demia, Nox is still, again, very, very effective in a ton of different game modes. They are heroes that are still being used in a lot of different places. Again, I would do Aurelia before Celine, just because damage dealers are a little bit easier to replace, where support heroes have the utility in a ton of different places. With good luck, 7 to 8 months. I don't think you'd get them fast enough in there. I'd probably say 10. With some good luck, probably about 10 months to build out a Highborn Draconic hero. And again, this also makes a big difference on the release schedule. So if you're going in here, if they release 1 or 2 Highborn Draconic heroes, that will give you access to about 200 more insignias not including the discounted ones. So I feel like, again, you could have a lot and build these out a lot faster, depending on how far and how far you push. Just want to say, is there new? If I'm a new player, yeah, Ivan and Randy. So the effectiveness of those two, when you look at the effectiveness of new players, guys, build out Randy, build out Ivan. When you get to 2 teams, your second team is going to be run by Rem, and that will take you all the way, for past the first 20 plus chapters. Very, very easy with those 3 heroes specifically. Randy and Ivan will just work super well for an incredible amount of time. Yeah, they are the 2. And that's the reason why, if you guys remember, guys, a couple months ago, we built this account to see really the effectiveness of some of those heroes, what it looks like earlier game, kind of what the build looks like earlier game. I have a few new player guides. So if you go to the guide section of my YouTube channel, go in there, go through and look at the new player guides specifically. It goes through what beasts you should look at, how you should build your Stargazer, what heroes you should focus on. There's a lot in that video itself that you definitely want to take away with if you want to start out really correctly in AFK Arena. If you burn your resources in a lot of different places, it can hurt your really the progression overall. Celine isn't a damage dealer, is she? Some places, Sean, and it depends again who you have. So she can really amplify damage in a couple different places. Some places she is being used as kind of that damage dealer. But again, Celine doesn't really require a big build. Celine or Lysander. Lysander, you only need 1 copy. That even early here, guys, if you guys remember, we did get an early copy of Lysander. We've actually got a random copy as well. He will still work effectively with a very, very low, almost no build. Lysander will work. And again, some players do run him at a very low ability. I still don't understand Randy. I have him at 409.60 with a pretty good collection, but he can't even out damage Envy. He's not going to. And again, Randy is a support hero that has a lot of utility and a lot of survivability. Straight up, he is never going to out damage Envy because Envy has damage amplification from the crowd control that's in there, and the SP effect that he carries. He will never out damage Envy. It doesn't work, and it doesn't work like that. And Randy is older when Envy is newer. Envy has a lot higher power scaling, and never will. What does Bron and Lady Simona does? They apparently on all the tier lists. I do. So the big thing, Lady Simona, is energy disintegration. So there she is. So she is really big with the energy disintegration, draining enemies' energy. This increases a lot. And then, of course, right here, restores 300 energy to all allied heroes. So even though she is, when you start thinking of game modes with Lady Simona, she takes the enemy's energy, she gives the energy to your team, and she has a lot of crowd control around her. Majority of game modes, tower formations, campaign formations, she will work incredibly well because she has the ability to give your damage dealers energy, which again is really big. Any hero that either 1 buffs up haste or 2 gives energy, this energy restore rate here is really big for heroes. And again, even though if she's not used as a damage dealer in game modes, she can be used as a crowd control, kind of an energy battery to give energy to the rest of your team, allowing them to amplify damage. It's the same thing essentially that Trishia does with the energy that she provides. Why she has still a lot of utility is just because of the energy regeneration that she has. Now on the flip side, Bron is just hard to kill. So he actually has a couple different things, and you have to get him to the enemy side. Grants allied heroes 250 points of dodge, 100 magic pierce until he reaches the end. So this again is a really big point of survivability, which is huge. If you get him to the enemy side, he does a lot of damage. He's used in a lot of different game modes in there, and he is a buffer. That again, when you start looking through here, there's a lot of things in here that he is bringing to teams. Even though he's a warrior, there's a lot that he's bringing to teams as a buffer, which makes a big difference. Even here, when an enemy dies, he absorbs the soul, boosting his attack rating, boosting his defense. Again, hard to kill the hero as he's going to that side. He's almost like a tank but he does also do a considerable amount of buffer. Randy is a support, no damage dealer. Yeah, he's support. That's the big thing in there. Doesn't change the fact that he does multitudes of damage, more than Envy for the leaderboards. Depends the game mode, depends on the targets. Is Scarlet worth building? Yes. So we found out very early, and again, kind of thinking of the tier list and what we had is if you look at the Tower of Light, if you look at a majority of players within the Tower of Light, and again, when we looked at the tier list, when we looked at a couple different things, I had to build out right here. I had to build out Scarlet because we didn't have anyone to do damage in here. I did not have the Awakened version of Belinda. We didn't have any copies. I had to kind of double back, and I did have to build Scarlet. Is she worth building in the Tower of Light? Yes, because you're going to have one team. As you continue progression within the Tower of Light, you're going to have two teams. Then you get to a point within the Tower of Light, you're going to have three teams. If you do not have all of the, Light Bearer Awakened heroes built, Scarlet is going to be your primary and usually your only damage dealer within that team. Very, very important to build her just for the fact, again, of being a primary damage dealer in there where you don't have it. If you want to make progression in the Tower of Light, you're going to have to build Scarlet. Again, for especially a newer player, because you're not going to go back and build the Awakened version of Thane. You're not going to go back and build, the Awakened version of Belinda. You're not going to go back and build all of the older Awakened heroes to make progression in the Tower of Light. You're going to have to rely on some of the heroes like Scarlet to be your damage dealer within those game modes. Randy does damage on the highest DPS you have, so the ceiling is based on Envy's investment and not Randall's investment. Again, that's the reason why Randy is never going to be the primary damage dealer or the highest damage dealer in a majority of formations, because that is not the way he's built. That is not how he's built. Envy has no slouch, but I have little trouble getting his collection to be worthwhile, so it might be the bottleneck. Oh yeah, you have to have a good collection, guys. When you think of your damage dealers, they are dependent on stats. The higher the stats, the better the stats. They are dependent on stats in the entirety. The higher, again, the better you can build them. The higher you can build them, the better they are going to perform overall just because of the stats itself. Besides Shuna, who can I use to boost heavy hitting characters? Aurelia works well. So support hero-wise, either you're going to buff or you're going to debuff. Demia does well. Aurelia works well. Anyone that is going to bring that buffing aspect to your team is going to amplify the damage in there. And usually Shuna. So like you said with Shuna is usually run with Envy. If you look at a lot of those combinations, that is the two heroes together that do work incredibly well. They are run together in a lot of different game modes, and they do work very effective. They're very effective together. Thanks for the interaction. Have a good night. Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us for the stream, guys. It was very, very cool to see all of the new names and all of the new people in here. Guild Boss leaderboards on my server will always have Randy being the main DPS by a huge margin. They never score more than gold, rank 1 or 3. Yeah, and it will be. So Randy, when you start looking at the Guild Boss, that's a collaboration effort. The Guild Boss itself doesn't make a difference. As long as you're hitting 10, it doesn't matter. And that's because of the debuffs that they're putting in there. It's not so much the buffs that you're seeing, it's the debuffs they're putting in there. So let's go ahead. And again, we're trying to build out Scion. We need one more copy. And then of course we have this copy right down here, two more copies, I think, to build them out a little bit further, but we want to take Scion up and build them out. We know as a damage dealer, he does incredibly well in a lot of different game modes. And like I had said earlier, we also want to try and make more progression in here. Baby steps, guys. Baby steps in here. Another rewind, getting again some more stats, some more attribute stats to build this up, trying to make more progression within the Dragon Forge. And this is what we've been working on, trying to build this up and trying to get heroes to go through the year. Now, of course, it is very dependent as well on the Resonating Crystal. So the higher level you have in the Resonating Crystal, the higher level you're going to have in the Dragon Forge for those non-Draconic heroes makes a big difference. But yeah, Shuna, any of your buffers in there will really raise up the damage, because there's two ways to do it. Because even when you look at heroes, and I'm thinking even like Looking in here at Goran being able to energy regeneration, looking at Talmar being able to, take up and increase some of the damage in here. Um, there's two kind of sides to AFK Arena. Either you're going to buff up the heroes you possess, or you're going to debuff the enemy heroes. That's kind of the split between both of the places. Is either you're going to buff up, and that again is where the new Highborn Draconic hero, where she's buffing up the Dragon Speak damage that the allies are doing. But if there's someone like Vigorous that has the ability to debuff the Dragon Speak damage right here, reduces enemy units' Dragon Speak resistance by 40 points. That means that anyone who is doing Dragon Speak damage is going to be doing more damage because the resistance is released or lowered. So again, it makes a big difference on how the heroes perform in AFK Arena and how you have them built in a couple different places, because you're either going to buff up your team or you're going to debuff the enemy team. And that's where it really does make a big difference with both of those in the entirety. I think he meant the the Twisted Realm. So Twisted Realm doesn't matter either. So when you look at the Twisted Realm, earlier game, yeah, it does make a little bit of a difference. Let me see where we're at. See right here, we're currently number 7. Looking at our battle history, we're at about 12 right here. And there's Randy. So again, this is very unique because of the shielding aspect. So remember, with Envy and with the SP effect, and I'll show you. So we're going to go over here. Now remember, this is going to nullify, and I believe it is the healing that you need the shielding in here. Randy is going to perform and has his own shielding. And remember, when it comes to Envy SP effect, he amplifies damage through crowd control. That's the reason why he's ran with a lot of the crowd control beasts. But the crowd control overall is going to amplify Envy's damage. You can't crowd control a boss. So that's the big thing, is you can see the buffs up here that we have for these. This is where, again, you're going to see Randy's damage really amplify here because we can't crowd control the boss. That's where in another game mode, if you're throwing up a lot of crowd control, Envy's damage is going to go through the roof because he gets the amplification from the crowd control, which again makes a big difference. For each attribute of the enemy hero that is reduced by a debuff, the enemy will take 10% more damage. And then normal attacks for each recorded by the Shadow Core, allied heroes will gain attack speed. If the allied hero's attack speed is greater than 0, then it goes up. So this is again where the higher you build Envy, the better he is going to perform, because you can amplify the damage that he does on here. And it also makes a big difference on the collection you're running on here. Whether it's physical pierce, whether it's attack, whether it's crit damage amplification, whether it's crit itself, the collections on damage dealers make a really big difference because it will, again, amplify the damage that we're doing in a couple different game modes, allowing him to really scale up a lot of that. Talking about the Twisted Realm, Envy needs to be the highest built hero. Yeah, and that's it. So Misha needs the defense collection. Aurelia needs the erosion collection. And Envy, again, has to be the highest, because if Envy is not the highest, the buffs are going to go on Randy instead of Envy because of how Aurelia works. So it's a little bit different. A Buggy, Insomnia, been a while, top lad. I hope you and the family are doing well. What's going on, Reggie? Reggie on the alt account. Thanks for joining us. That is awesome. Can you show us the best Hildwyn comp? I don't use Hildwyn anymore. No, a lot of the Hildwyn's comp. So anyone that, and I know for a long time, Hildwyn was used in comps with like Belinda. He is used as a damage mitigation. So think of really any hero within a formation that has issues with survivability. That is where Hildwyn will be run. So Hildwyn was actually run with the Awakened version of Belinda for a significant amount of time. We even seen Hildwyn being run in here with the Awakened version of Lucius. Again, because the hero has issues with survivability, a lot of players are using kind of the mitigation factor, the shielding aspect that we see of Hildwyn. And Hildwyn a lot of times was being run up front in formation. So was actually being run up in the very front of formations, just for the fact that, again, the utility of the hero, not so much the damage dealer, but more of the mitigation. I don't even know if we're going to find him in formations right there. So again, thinking of this formation is, like we had just said, a majority of these formations we are seeing, and this is traditionally we have seen Envy run with Shuna. So right here we have Envy, right here we have Shuna. Those are two that go together very, very well on how the dynamic works. Hilduin is in here as that damage mitigation to keep Envy alive. Envy, like I said, with the awakened version of Lucius, the awakened version of Belinda, even looking at Envy in here, it is survivability issues that we have with some of these heroes where if they scale, if he ults, if he transforms, Envy is going to do incredibly well. We can go through the formation. Again, thinking about his damage, that's also the reason right here why we run the Ice Crown is crowd control. You have to have the ability to keep Envy alive through the game mode. That is where, again, like Ice Crown comes in, even looking at like the Treat Spectator. Anytime that you can provide crowd control to let these heroes scale, let him transform, let him ult, that is where, again, systematically or fundamentally, you have to keep the heroes alive for them to ult. If they die out too quick, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do anything with them. You have to make sure that you focus and you build them around specific heroes. And again, when you start looking, Rem ran with, a couple other ones. There's Land down here, but there is Demia. Demia is another one you can see here taking a lot of damage out of here. But again, getting Rem to ult. Even here, the awakened version of Falx, that was probably the trial version, I'm assuming. Or they really focused on building out the hero in the entirety. Right here, Liberta, Mahira, that's another one we see run together a lot of times. Randy and Ivan, like we were just saying right there. Even looking at Shamira in here. Most of the heroes have a really kind of very similar or really the same kind of team dynamic that they're running through. There's the effectiveness of support heroes that are really running side by side with certain damage dealers, and they do work incredibly well. As a free-to-play player, which Highborn Draconic hero should we build first? The new Draconic hero worth building? Shadow, we have to see. That is going to see. Now, right now, again, as it sits today, I would build Leviathan. Is the new Draconic hero worth building? Right now, we have only seen one iteration of different game modes. Does it look like she is going to be worth building? Yes, I would say it seems as of now, absolutely, she is going to be well worth building. But we have to see, is she worth building in comparison to where we see Leviathan being used? Again, that's going to take a little bit more time. Does it make sense to start building Leviathan to commit to 8-9 months during the process? Again, G-Star, I would kind of wait to see where she comes in. Now, again, what a lot of players have also noted is when it comes to our new hero right here, Althera, she is effective at a legendary. So even having one single copy of this hero, she is doing well just at legendary for the Dragon Speak damage amplification. Because remember, she is not an awakened hero. The awakened hero requires the build to be able to unlock all of the skills and abilities. You're going to have access to all of the skills and abilities, again, because she's not an awakened hero with just one single copy. And that's what some players are running her with, is just that one single copy. Now, of course, as a damage dealer, if you want her to do damage and really perform well in the damage dealing role, she's going to require the stats. And of course, when it comes to her specifically, Erosion and Magical Pierce are massive. They are massive, massive, massive for the buffs that she does get out of there. And maybe it was, where is it? Her skill that has that. Maybe it's in here. Right here. So when she does, and when you do build her up, it is going to be very important right here to get the Magical Pierce. Very important for the Erosion. Again, if you want this hero to maximize that Dragon Speak amplification, you're going to have to build her out with Erosion, which again comes with stats. Here's your Erosion right here. That is naturally built into the signature item, but the Erosion on there and the Pierce is what really makes a big difference. Oh, what's going on, Juan? And Meme God, bro. Hello, thank you for joining the stream. Which Celestial and Hypo heroes are the priority? Still priority, guys, is Liberta. When you start thinking, and again, if you're talking new game, if you're talking early game, Liberta is still the absolute priority, guys, within AFK Arena. The reason being the effectiveness of this hero in pretty much every single game mode we have, period. He is still being used. Campaign formation still being used. I use them in the Temporal Rift. Even looking at, again, not having a lot of different heroes out. He's a support hero, but he will do a primary damage dealing role in a lot of different places. He is still, again, kind of number one. Then we look in, and a lot of players either build out Demia, which we did get that single copy of Demia, or they build out Aurelia. So those are kind of the top three. When we start looking over here, a lot of players build out Nox first. Now, Nox, if you're unfamiliar, guys, Nox with the Slumbering Seal, if you get Nox built up, if you get him at a plus 60 engraving, which I know builds a really big build on there, each time he successfully offsets fatal damage, the active skill of Double Trouble will be triggered. This makes him almost impossible to kill. And then you couple him with Slumbering Seal. There are a lot of campaign formations that the Slumbering Seal and Nox can run together, and literally they are the only two that will finish the formations or claim victory in the battle just with those two. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, I got to go for now. Thank you for the information. Oh, thank you, guys. Yeah, like I said, I love to hop in here and I love to answer questions for you. Is Scion worth to build? Yes. Scion is worth the build. I haven't met Mythic and his results are quite bad. And if yes, how high do you have to invest? Scion requires a 40960 at least. Again, if you start thinking of overall with a damage dealer itself, he requires a big build, getting more stars on him, getting the plus 40 signature item on Scion. He does require a big build to work effectively. Let me see, because I think we have 2 more beasts to still build. We need right here, we are working on the Trickery Chest. I believe the Ibis and Trickery Chest. So the Trickery Chest, we need what? 1 more copy. The Ibis, we need 1 more copy. Let's see, 300 baits, guys. And I've still been doing every event, everything that we've been trying to really build. We've been getting and building out more baits in the entirety, trying to finish it out before we do this Beast Resonance 6, but we're getting there. It just takes an incredible amount of time. But yeah, Scion does require a big build. Scion, again, as a damage dealer, guys, the effectiveness of this hero and really the best in slot dominance that we see with Scion, his damage goes through the roof. Then you add on crit or crit damage amplification with the big build. It does, and really the stats, crit and physical pierce, and even overbuilding him if you do with furniture, going above that 9 of 9 furniture, Scion's effectiveness is very, very high in a lot of different game modes. What's going on, Carol? Just want to say hi and greetings. Thank you for joining us. Apparently, I watched 329 of your videos. Wow, that is awesome, Alome. 329 of my videos. I know we try to do them, and we usually put them out every single day, depending on how crazy my schedule is. And we do the same with the finance channel, guys. If you haven't checked out the finance channel, we put videos up there on a very, very regular basis as well. Got an editor for the finance channel, which really does make it possible to create content like I do. Most of the AFK Arena videos, I don't do a lot of editing if I edit at all. But the finance channel, like I said, I have an editor for that, which is awesome. He does very, very, very well with the content. And it just, again, it makes it possible with the timeline that I have and being able to go over there. Yes. So when it comes to building them out, we are seeing the exact same thing. It is the cost. The Draconic Heroes, even the regular Draconic Heroes, when you start going into the Dragon Isle, they are so expensive. I mean, at now on the YouTube account, so just Meme God, to give you kind of an example, we are trying to pull 1 copy of Begrus to actually do the engraving on him. We are like 800 pulls in to get that 1 copy of Begrus. Talk about being hard to build. Yeah, we have spent, I mean, when you do even the math on that, even I'll bring up my calculator. So if we did 800 summons, and again, not excluding the scrolls, but if we did our 800 summons, and let's say they were just, for instance, 5,000 each, you're talking about 4 million diamonds at the 800 summons at 5,000 diamonds each. I have been summoning, and since Begrus was released, it's kind of, I haven't had any luck. I haven't been able to get that last copy. Even last time we did summons for him, looking for those last 2 copies, we did 314 summons the first time, and then we went through and we did about another, I believe around another 100 summons the second time, and we got 0 copies of Begrus out of 400 plus summons. Within here, we had 0 copies of Begrus at all, which is kind of crazy. What I do is for every Awakened Dragon, I make sure I get 1 copy, so I'm able to get the special dungeon. Oh yeah, that's a smart way to go. Will you make a tier list for companions? Is Shooty still on here? I don't know if Shooty left. Shooty covers AFK Arena, covers companions. I haven't played companions at months at this point, Leo. So yeah, Shooty can absolutely, and I know Shooty probably has some tier lists for companions as well, so they can definitely go out there and make you a companion tier list. I'm a little bit further stepped away from the game, Leo. Again, I haven't played it in months, so Shooty would be the absolute. And again, I don't know if Shooty's still in the chat, but definitely that is going to be where I would get the tier list, or I'd recommend doing it, because again, I haven't built it or I haven't been there. Yeah, Shooty. So if Shooty has a tier list, if you can share it with Leo, or you guys connect somehow out there. Yeah, he does a lot of the AFK companions. Again, that is something that I have stepped away a lot. Yeah, who's Shooty? Up right above you. It's Lucian. I think it's, we have a forever tier list. Yeah, there we go. That we update live. So there you go. So yeah, definitely hop in, guys. Check out Shooty's channel. Again, if you're playing companions, that is the place. What's going on, Gazi? All right, I know we're a little bit over on the time now. Again, guys, thank you guys for joining me for the Sunday stream. I know it was a little bit earlier today. I got to go get my son all ready. He plays for the Saints, but he plays NFL flag football, so it's really, really cool to see. We got to get ready. We got to get going to our football. We got a couple hours of football in there, but it is very cool. Yeah, that is Shooty. So he has a tier list that he updates. Again, if you need information on AFK Arena companions, that is my go-to, as well it should be your go-to, because I do not play companions like I used to. We actually haven't logged in again, like I said, for months on companions overall, but definitely want to. So guys, again, that is going to do it. Thank you, Van Gogh, and everybody else for joining us for a stream. I love doing the streams, guys. It is, for me, is a ton of fun. Being able to come in here, being able to answer questions with you guys, go through some of the content, have conversations about AFK Arena. So as we continue to get stuck with the power creep in here, we'll have to see what's coming in with the collaborations that are coming, as well as the next Awakened Heroes we're seeing. So guys, that's going to do it for today's stream. Thank you guys for joining me as always. And as always, thank you guys for watching.